Okay, so ecological is basically how Brazilians been training forever. It's nothing new to it. They just put a name to it. The people that are just like into butt scooting and they're perfectly happy and like the nerdy type, like these guys wouldn't survive a day if you showed up with a camera. They would literally make fun of you. Like not the coach, or like your friends would make fun of you. Like, what are you, a model? Because is Derek Moneyberg an IBJJF black belt? He's not. Now, if IBJJF does not exist, that right there is happening we would have 12-year-old black belts. Once you put that cash in front of them, people are very quick to change and adjust. I'll give you another one. These professional events, which one of them is profitable? Not a single one of them. That's an interesting thing because...
So I'm joined today by Robert Drysdale, Jiu-Jitsu legend, 5th degree black belt, IBJJF and ADCC champion, author of Opening Closed Guard, The Rise and Evolution of BJJ, and you just released 2 new books, What is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Today and The Triumph of BJJ, 50 Years of a Martial Arts Revolution. So it's been a busy week, Jiu-Jitsu Con. How's the week been for you?
Busy.
Busy?
I love it. I get tired, but that doesn't mean I don't love it. My favorite thing is just, seeing my friends, and sometimes it's for like 30 seconds, but we have so many shared memories. It's my favorite day of the year. More than Christmas, more than my birthday, is just getting together with my friends, and I have jiu-jitsu to thank for that, so I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, that's super special. So tell us about your 2 new books and what they add to your collection.
So one of them, it was, originally an exchange I had done with a friend of mine, Fernando Soluço, and I didn't want an interview format. It was suggested that I do it in Japanese. They call it taidan, which is like 2 experts on a given topic just going back and forth.
Okay.
It was inspired by a taidan in between Yamashita and Kimura. And I read that, I thought it was great. So this scholar that I spoke to, he suggested, why don't you do one? And when I did one with Soluço, he's like, why don't you write a book and just do many of those? This would be a good format. It's not so much an interview, it's more like a back and forth. And I thought it'd be interesting to discuss the state of the art, like where are we as far as a martial art goes? Because I've written 2 books on history already, so I wanted to write something on where are we today. Yeah. So actually my inspiration, I went on one of those accounts. I can't remember what account it was. It was like some Instagram account that popped up on my feed. And I went to this account, and it was all these controversial topics, and it was taking positions that I don't hold. It was like basically the opposite of everything I stand for. And then, but a lot of people were commenting and going like, oh yeah, this is right. Like the way jiu-jitsu was, the cultural features they were defending are things that I just think are terrible ideas for a variety of reasons. And it's like, you know what, I'm going to write about this. I think that this is where we're going is wrong. This is why I think we should be choosing a different route. So the conversations kind of flowed in a natural way where we just talk about controversial topics in the community today. Like the main one was the distinction between entertainment and education, right? Because everyone's like, oh, it's got to be entertaining. But the problem with once you go that show business route, it's very difficult to recover because it stops being about efficiency. It stops being about what is best for the art. It starts being about sell tickets at any cost, get follows or die trying. It's just that mentality where the metric of success now is no longer in self-improvement or even what's best for the community. It is how do we monetize everything. Right. So I think that there's a corruptive aspect to that. I like money too, don't get me wrong, but there's a corruptive aspect once you go down that road. It's happened with other martial arts, it's happened with other sports. We've seen this before. And once you give the public a dose of the drug, you can't give them a smaller dose next time. So you got to be constantly raising the bar. And we saw a man grapple a woman last year, what's next, mud wrestling? Yeah. And you got to keep raising the bar because it doesn't end. Once you go that route, it's very hard to recover. I would like to see something. I don't think it's boring if I don't see fireworks and people in costumes. That's, to me, jiu-jitsu is exciting as it is. Mm-hmm. I love the art for what it is. I don't need the gossip, the soap opera. So I talk about all this. And when I was 80-90% done with that book, I was going through some old files, and one of the files I reread was the 1975 manual of the Jiu-Jitsu Federation in Rio. It was very interesting that on August 2nd, 1975, was when they released that manual, and they had a new rule set, which is essentially the rule set they gave Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu its shape. 4 points for mount, 4 points for the back, and so on. Prior to that, they had a more pre-war judo interpretation of combat, right? So 50% time on the ground, 50% time standing, lots of self-defense. Their rule set had 1 point for takedown, 1 point for mount, 1 point for back. So it was more or less 50-50 approach to combat. it became ground oriented after 1975, and this is crystal clear in the rule set. Like, oh man, this is 50 years this August. Maybe I could write a little pamphlet or something, and the pamphlet kept growing. And I had all these pictures that I had collected all the years, and I noticed that these pictures were telling exactly that story. Look, Jiu-Jitsu is changing over the years. So I basically divide the book in prior to 1975 and after 1975. I more or less argue that specifically the ground orientation for which we are known was, you know, I won't say it was born in 1975, but that's when it took its distinctive shape. It was it was like a evolutionary marker from, you know, what was pre-war judo, which is what they were practicing, to what pretty much where we are today. So if I'm going to write something and I have all these pictures, so I decided to put like a coffee table book together. It turned out to look, it's a very nice book. It's very beautiful. I think so. Maybe 60,000 words in text, so it's not super long as far as text goes, but lots of pictures, which I was hoping that would maybe approach a public that doesn't typically like to read, but maybe like with all these pictures and captions, like, oh, I can learn Jiu-Jitsu history without diving into, you know, 8,000 pages.
Totally, yeah. And so last time we talked, you mentioned that there was a period of time where it was shameful to bring a camera to Jiu-Jitsu, to competitions. Yeah. Do you address that at all in your book?
So that actually, when I spoke to you guys about that one, I was in an interview with Vinicius Draculino, who's an old school guy, Gracie Baja guy, and he's the one who said, he was the one who told the story, because I caught the tail end of that age. I mean, if you took a camera in those days, it's like, it wasn't, I don't think anyone would make fun of you, reprimand you, but it was already like, well, that's strange. Like, why do you got to record? Why do you got to take pictures of yourself? Right. It was already kind of strange, but no one would have said anything, I don't think. Because I think we did have, I mean, it was just like, it's not something, people didn't have smartphones too. So it was like, oh, you got to go get an actual camera, you know, but it wasn't that common. That's why you have so few pictures of that era, unless you're a journalist. Like, the people, the competitors themselves, I have virtually no pictures of me competing as a white belt, blue belt, purple, but very few. Like, maybe like 4 or 5 total, seriously. Whereas Draculino was telling me that if you showed up with a camera, they would literally make fun of you. Like, not the coach, or like your friends would make fun of you. Like, what are you, a model? And he tells a story of a guy he didn't mention. He did mention the name, but we edited the name out. He was a foreigner. He had gone to Brazil to compete, and he had given the camera to someone from Gracie Baja to take pictures of his matches, right? So the guy was like, pictures of your matches? Oh, fuck you. So he took a bunch of dick pics. No. He took a bunch of dick pics and then gave the camera back to the guy. And he said, fuck this guy, let's take pictures of his matches. And then, so back in the day, you had to go to the store to like,
to develop
the picture. Oh, yes, so imagine go to the store and you open a bunch of dick pics. There's not a single picture of any of his matches. Oh, that's and then that's the story. I mean, but that's what they would have done. I'm like, get out of here, man. Like, you're not, and I'm not against pictures. I take pictures too. I think pictures are great. Don't get me wrong. But what it does show is how much the culture has changed. And in some ways for the better, you know, we can't be too pessimistic, but some things I think we've lost some important things, you know.
Totally. Yeah, another thing that you've mentioned in a previous interview is how, because there weren't recordings of your matches, you would go back in the gym and have to kind of like problem solve and work through a little bit of that.
And that's an interesting thing, because my students have everything. If they see a body triangle back escape, they can literally go on YouTube and there's like 8 different options to choose from. Right. Different instructors with different angles, different, you know, takes on it. Even how they word it, sometimes it's different. It already changes how you perceive the move. And I think that's great. I think that speeds progress.
Totally.
For sure. There is a downside to that, though, is that they become very dependent on other people doing the thinking for them.
Right.
Like, and I remember, because we didn't have, so you would watch someone do something. Let's say someone's doing a spider guard move, and we would watch it, paying attention, and we'd try to go to the gym and replicate it, and we would be playing around. So there was like a think tank almost. We'd get in a circle, like 5, 6 of us, and just discuss position and try to figure out what they were doing. And it was slower than what we have today. Of course, you go on YouTube, the answer's there. It's much faster, for sure. But there was a mental, intellectual effort that I feel that people that go on YouTube don't ever make.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it taught us how to think. So even today, like there's a lot of things that I see today. They're like, oh, I've never seen that before. Because it's just the evolution is so quick now. It's like, oh, I've never seen that leg entry, for example. Right, especially because like leg entanglements were mostly illegal. They've been made legal recently, so that's why the evolution, or that's where the innovations come from. But I've never seen anything in jiu-jitsu that I couldn't look at and go, okay, got it. Because to me, it's a habit of just looking at something, analyze, and I can understand what's happening very quickly versus someone that's very dependent. It's almost like this mentality of, because I talk about this in the What is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu book too with Bruno Bastos, and he said, what's the main difference between American and Brazilians? And he said, Americans are very systematic, Brazilians are the opposite. I'm like, that's so true. Americans like, give me A, B, C, D, E, because they want a system. How do I go from where I'm at to victory, championship, submission, whatever, they want that pathway. And Brazilians frown on this. Like if you say curriculum in Brazil, I mean, I don't know now, I've been gone for 20 years, but when I was there, they would make fun of it. They didn't know what a curriculum was. If you said curriculum, well, I don't even know what that was. So there's no such thing as systems. It was all, you were expected to be smart enough to figure things out on the fly, which is perhaps a bad system for beginners because beginners would struggle to get to an intermediate level. But on the other hand, you also have the effort of like, the accountability of it is your problem. You have to learn how to figure things out on the spot. You better do it quickly. I think that's an asset later on. Because no matter how many instructionals you buy, how many techniques your coach knows or you know, or how many hours you spend studying, it is impossible to account to every single possible situation. So if you get caught in a move you didn't know, like, well, boo-hoo, cry me a river. Like, what are you gonna do? You know it's 2 points if they sweep you. You know that getting submitted is bad. What else do you need to know? Like you're expected to learn how to think quickly, how to adapt to circumstances, and to improvise. That's what they call fight IQ. So what people call fight IQ, what is that? Well, fight IQ is just training your mind to respond quickly to changing circumstances. So you don't have to go back to the drawing board. New strategy. What do I got to do now? It's like, man, we're in the heat of battle here, man. We have a new situation. You better know how to deal with it because if you don't, you're going to lose. And that fight IQ, I feel like with the improvisation system is trained very early on. And I think Brazilians do this exceptionally well. They have very naturally very high fight IQ because it's in the culture. Like Brazilians don't plan anything.
Right.
So Americans go like, oh, we're going to have a barbecue on September 17th at 10 a.m. You're going to bring this, he's going to bring that. Everything is planned out. Brazilians will literally go on September 17th at 9:45 a.m. What are we doing today? Oh, we're going to grill. And then just like 20 minutes later, people are just showing up with random people, you know, and then maybe someone will forget the ice or someone will forget something, but they'll make it work somehow because planning is not part of the culture. Now, this is really bad for business. It's bad from a political perspective, like all these problems, but it also makes them very good at improvising on the spot, like working with what you have, not complaining and finding a solution with what you're given. And I think that has a reflex on how they perceive competition because you're expected to know what to do when the time comes. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I think it's interesting to notice these differences. And they came across in this conversation with Bruno Bastos. And there's some other things that we noticed as well, but there's strengths and weaknesses with all systems, right?
Totally. That brings me to, I think we've been seeing these days on like the online discourse, a little bit of this coming up about criticizing the way we've been learning jiu-jitsu so systematically, and the solution that people have come up with is the ecological approach.
So so ecological is basically how Brazilians been training forever. It's nothing new to it. They just put a name to it.
Yeah.
They just put and the interesting thing about labels is, and it's very ingrained in the American culture, and there's some strengths to this, but you have to find a way to monetize everything. So if I say, if I give you an old product, if I say Kimura, and you're like, oh, Kimura, I already know Kimura, I've learned 1,000 Kimura. Well, let's say you rename the Kimura. You call it something else. You call it trap something. And then like, oh, what is that? And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, you got a new label on it? It's something new. I got to put it in. Because we have also this mentality of progress that like old is bad, new is good. So anytime you have something that's new, you can put a new label on it and sell it to the public.
And we don't want to be left behind.
You don't want to be left behind. It's like you got FOMO, that sort of thing. So what they're doing is just putting a new label on old things. It's like this is new and everyone buys it, and you can monetize that. And you can also monetize the system. That's the other thing about systems, why they're so appealing, is because you can easily monetize the system. I have a system from A to Z that will teach you how to be a champion. And people like just are drawn to that. Because if I told them, hey, listen, man, you just got to be accountable, show up and learn how to, it's not, you can't sell that. It's too simple. It's not a product.
Yes.
You understand? If I just give them like little, and I strongly believe that that's the issue. If you look at good competitors, that's what they're doing. That doesn't mean they don't have a system. It doesn't mean that they're not willing to sell you a system. It means that in practice, they're one thing, but they cannot monetize it. So online or in public, they're selling you something they can actually monetize. Whether they realize that they're doing this or not, that's what they're doing.
Right.
So it's not that I'm critical of systems. I think for beginners, they're intelligent because they give them some sort of direction, but they're not realistic in a fight because a fight is too chaotic for you to be able to say, this is what's going to happen. I think it's almost like absurd that anyone would believe that. Like nothing goes according to plan in a fight ever. I mean, unless you're much better than your opponent, you can say, I'm going to go this, and that. Like, that could happen. Or you can have an idea of where the fight's going to lead. And sometimes someone is that dominant. But I don't like to talk about exceptions because exceptions don't do justice to the conversation.
Right.
Exceptions are exceptions. You have to look at the whole. Like, what is the general, the generality of the situation? And we go, oh, people were winning by inches. Like, are things going according to plan? You have a general direction. You have to make those decisions. And that's not something you can monetize. So I think that's part of the resistance and where it comes from. I've done some reading on the ecological system, some articles about it. I don't think it's new. I think it's just what everyone's always been doing. You're expected to learn how to figure things out. And it's when I learned, I was like, well, I've always done that. Like, as opposed to what? Oh, and then a cookie cutter approach. And the other thing too is people are bored. And the problem with, and this is like an internet problem because people got so used to like something new every 5 seconds. It has to be like that with them. They can't, it's too simple and you can't monetize it where I go, you just got to keep your head down, work hard, stop, get off the internet, train harder, compete more, don't complain. It's just like, you just suck it up and keep your focus. Yeah. It's too simple of a message. You can't monetize it and people don't want to hear it because it's too simple. There's got to be a recipe. Everyone's looking for that. It's like the person that wants to lose weight and they want a pill.
Right.
Give me a supplement. They don't want a treadmill. No, that's too simple. Can't be a treadmill. It can't be just shut my mouth. If you tell an obese person stop eating carbs, they go agree with you, but they're like, no, I don't want to stop eating carbs. I just want a pill.
Right.
That's what these guys are doing. When they're asking for a system or a solution to their problems, they're like the fat person. They're just the one to get on a treadmill. You just got to shut up and get on the treadmill. Stop eating, get on the treadmill. It's very simple. Yeah. It's not complicated, but it's so simple. Okay, what? You can't monetize it. You can't sell it because it's too simple.
Yeah, people are looking for an answer.
They want a miracle.
It's not the answer.
It's not the answer, exactly. So I think there's a lot of that and they're just bored and they're looking for things to excite them. And I think that if you need, to me, excitement was I couldn't pass so-and-so's garden practice. That was all the excitement I needed. And I'd be home like entertaining myself, like I'm going to kill that guy tomorrow. But that is, to me, exciting enough. I think that a lot of people that are thinking that way have the wrong motivations and the wrong mindset, personally.
Totally. Yeah, I do think that it's great that the ecological approach is bringing people back to a more problem-solving oriented way of doing jiu-jitsu and of learning jiu-jitsu. Because I think it's easy to start approaching jiu-jitsu as a beginner in a kind of algorithmic way.
Yeah.
And this new modern trendy thing is breaking that. It may be, the same thing that people were doing back in the day, but people don't want to train the way it was popular 30 years ago. They want to train the way it's popular now. So the rebranded, at least people are.
Exactly. I think the system thing was like this, and I remember hearing about it. I'm like, I didn't know what they meant. I'm like, what do you mean a system? Oh, if they A, you do B. If they do B, you do C. I'm like, when does that ever happen? Again, unless you're much better. And then this is the other interesting thing that the internet does. It's very interesting because our whole psyche is shaped by what we see online. So you see a guy doing it. So he does a sequence from A to Z. And that is proof that the system works. Like, oh, it works. Right. And what they forget, it's very easy to forget, it's 100% of what you saw. Well, it doesn't mean it's 100% of the whole story.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So it's an edit. It's like the iceberg meme. It's the little tip of the iceberg. Like what's underwater. Like there's all these things underwater you're not seeing. It doesn't mean they're not happy. It doesn't mean they're less important because you're not seeing them. Right. It means you have had an edited view of reality. So now you have an edited view of reality going, this is 100% of what's happening. And then you're under the impression that the system is perfect because of that 100%. It's 100% we saw. You very quickly forget there are all these thousands of other situations where that went completely different. Not that it didn't work, it's just that it went in all these wild, random directions. But again, you can't sell, look, it's going to be chaotic. They can't sell that. You have to give. So it's the internet. What the internet is doing is constantly packaging things in a way that you can sell them to someone. It's not the pursuit of truth. It's the pursuit of the optimization of income, popularity. Like those are, and once you place, this is why I'm so critical of these things, because once you place those things as the metric of success, you're automatically gonna, because wrong purpose will create wrong values, which creates wrong thoughts, which create wrong actions. You're already going in a way where you have normalized deceiving yourself and others. Right, instead of going, look, this system was worked once, but there's all those 800 times where it went completely off plan. But I didn't record it and I'm not gonna post it because then I can't sell you a product. So everyone's always trying to sell someone something all the time. And it's very deceitful. And we do it to ourselves too. I do it, you do it. It's just normal human behavior to do these things. But it's not realistic, it's not real, it's not truthful. It's a sales pitch at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to move on. There's something that it keeps me super interested, and I love hearing people's perspective on this, because obviously you know and understand jiu-jitsu in a holistic way better than the vast majority of people. And there's something about jiu-jitsu that's addictive, that gets people obsessed. What is it that you think brings people to that level of obsession with jiu-jitsu?
I have a chapter in the Triumph of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu where it's called The Miracle That Happened. And that's a quote from the introduction, I believe, to one of Roberto Pedro's books. And he talks about the miracle that happened because things, why is it that this story aligned? And it went like all these things like, oh, this is such a great story. The stars aligned, right? Well, there's great stories and potential happening all the time. But sometimes, you know, we're just looking at, we have different interpretations of what success is. So stars are aligning all the time, but we're not seeing all of them because we have like, this is what success is, right? So we're taking success as a popularity as a metric of success. In the case of BJJ, the big difference, the big change was really when it became popular in '93. Because these guys have been doing that in Brazil for decades and no one was paying attention. Now, they had a very good recipe. So the popularity was like, oh, this is interesting. Well, now everyone's paying attention. But what was it that made it interesting? So a few different things. One of them, like I think people are naturally competitive. Maybe not everyone, but there's a general instinct to compete and outdo someone. I enjoy that friction. I'm addicted to competition. I like someone trying to beat me trying to beat them. That friction to me is very rewarding. The friction itself. I mean, beyond the victory. Like even when I lose, I feel bad, but that doesn't mean I'm not addicted to that dynamic of conflict. So there's that. There's the fact that there's low impact on the body compared to Muay Thai or wrestling. So there's greater longevity in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It is not a coincidence that Jiu-Jitsu's biggest event was Masters Worlds. You know, 12, 15,000 competitors. The average age there has got to be 40 something. 40 would be my guess. And I think that's very significant because I don't think you see this in other sports. Not just martial arts, in other sports, there is longevity. So because you're 40 doesn't mean you're not competitive. It means your body hurts. You may not want to play football. But I can roll around on the ground and look for a kimura because there's less impact. So there's that as well. The other thing too is you don't have to take anyone down. It's a very unique aspect of jiu-jitsu, which there's a whole side story to that. We can get into it later of why it became so ground oriented. And that makes it, you can pull guard. Pulling guard is easy. Anyone can do it. Anyone can pull guard. Anyone can pull guard. Taking someone down is a nightmare. Right? So it's because it's easy, it has a more democratic appeal because everyone can do it. So that's another reason. Jiu-Jitsu also evolved next to the internet. You got to remember, '93, what could, not only the UFC, what also happened in '93?
Internet?
The internet. The internet was invented in '93. Is that I mean, it's a
I
coincidence.
didn't know that.
It was at the same time, like how convenient for us that these things are evolving side to side, that these things are right next to each other, and they help one another. Like, so jiu-jitsu has been helped by the internet tremendously because it helped popularize it. The spread of information, the innovation of the art, the creativity of the art is another part of it, which is tied into the internet. Right? This is very cool. I can do a De La Riva sweep infinite amount of ways. I can tweak it to my body type. I can tweak it to this rule set or that sweet-gi and no-gi. So you have it's very much like your phone.
Right.
There's an algorithm there. You select what you like and what you don't like, and you end up with exactly the menu of information that you want.
Yes.
It's custom. It's custom to you. You are the center of the universe now. You are the center of your own jiu-jitsu. It's not top down like as in judo. This is what you're going to learn.
Right.
Okay, which is almost like it's fun. It's so much fun. It's almost a problem because it's so much information. It creates chaos because the information simply isn't organized. Another reason, and this is one of the big ones, is what Carlson Gracie did, whether he realized it or not. And I don't think it was intentional. It was just a natural occurrence on his combination of his personality, which was very competitive, and his manners off the mats. So Carlson was a guy that off the mats, he was a goofball, funny brother, hug you, flip-flops, acai beach, ladies. Like he's just a
Classic
typical
jiu-jitsu.
Brazilian. More that he's a typical, you have to be, if you go to Rio, you go to Copacabana and you walk around Copacabana for like an hour, you're gonna go, I think I understand jiu-jitsu better. Because what we consider the jiu-jitsu lifestyle we're so happy and proud of, that's Copacabana. What Carlson did is he brought the Copacabana lifestyle into jiu-jitsu, onto the mats, which is something martial arts had never done before.
Yeah.
Like judo existed in Brazil, but going to a gym, like judo, it's like going to church.
Yes.
The Gracie Academy itself was very much like, it's very militaristic. It had a very different culture. Carlson goes, if you're 5 minutes late, it's fine. Okay, like you skip warm up, it's not the end of the world as long as you train hard, right? You still got to go to war. You still got to be a warrior on the mats, but like that whole beach lifestyle. And it was a big part of the appeal of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the world in cultural terms. That's why I think it's a big draw. I first became aware, this is interesting, I was filmed a documentary and I was in Tokyo and I had just left the Tokyo University, the Kosen Judo practice. And it was like going to church. Everyone's like, the Japanese were 30 minutes early. They're sweeping the mats before practice. Everything's incredibly formal. I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. I think they're superior people, for the record. I think they are the superior people. But it was just like, man, this is so different from what I'm used to. And when I went to, a jiu-jitsu gym in Tokyo, was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym now. Guys are showing up like 10 minutes late. One of them's like sitting with his legs spread open. He's taping his fingers calmly, laughing with his friends, calmly taping his fingers. The class has already been going on for the last 10 minutes. This guy's late, and he's like, and I'm like, I'm in Brazil. This is Tokyo.
Wow.
But I'm in Brazil, and I've had like in Chechnya, I've seen this. I've seen this in Australia. So in some ways, jiu-jitsu has served as a vehicle to export the best Brazil has to offer, which is that joyful, happy, relaxed manners, like just an easy way of living. You can work hard and be a warrior, but you don't have to kill yourself all the time and be on late. It's not military. It's very go with the flow kind of thing. And I think that's a big part of the success, that and, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
That and all these things combined, Keanu Reeves and whoever else, like these guys help. They do it for jiu-jitsu what Elvis Presley did for karate in the 70s, They helped popularize the art, and it's all these things combined, I think, help explain the success.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I definitely think that the culture, as you mentioned, is a big draw, as well as I think that there's something that you spoke about, the competition aspect. There's definitely something innate that jiu-jitsu seems to feed into with the competition. It's
very primal. Yeah.
And I mean, it's a way of fighting, but like you said, you can do it forever. And
it's a way of like feeding into that more primal side. And without, I saw men and women in their 60s competing this weekend.
I have a training partner she and her husband both compete at every Worlds event, and they're maybe 65. Incredible.
The other thing too is, modern technology has increased so much, right? So our life longevity is, like 60 used to be old now. Now it's young.
Yeah.
You got another 20 years to go, man, like more. Like we're gonna live to 100. Which is like That's a crazy thought. We're gonna live, our generation, we're gonna live to 100. So I'm going, wow, man, like, and it's healthier. You got better medicine. Like I have arthritis. I just started taking this medicine. I'm like, oh man, I actually feel better. Wow. Like, did people have this 50 years ago? I don't think so. So like little things like that where the quality of life has improved, so people can stay long, and they can, because they're living longer, they still need to feed that primal side of theirs. Like, I need to feel alive.
Right.
And for me to feel truly alive, I need a degree of friction in my life. I can't have things handed to me, which is why I'm always critical of people looking for the easy way out in everything. You shouldn't choose the easy way. There's more life in the hard way. There's more joy, there's more merit, I think there's just more to choosing things the hard way, not like that work smart, not hard mentality. I'm like, yeah, sure, sometimes, but there's got to be something that's meaningful to you. And it's better that if it's hard, because the harder it is, the more meaning you can derive from those things.
Right.
And I think jiu-jitsu has all these ingredients in it, so that's a big part of its appeal. I was not that optimistic about it getting this big.
Really?
I was like, there's going to be a limit. There's got to be a ceiling. It's like, it doesn't stop. I don't even know where the ceiling is now. I'm like, I hope it keeps growing, helps me. But at the same time, it's just like, this is unusual, like how much it has grown. Like, not in my wildest dreams that I thought it would get this big.
Wow. Yeah, well, it's crazy. You have seen and been in the sport through the whole, this whole big boom that we've had. So it's really interesting to hear your perspective on that.
I haven't even been that long. Like, I mean, I guess 27 years. When you say a quarter of a century, it sounds so much older than I am. But some of these guys have been living it even longer. They've seen even more changes. I will say one thing though. Like, some people, I think a lot of people from the generation that preceded mine, right, the original missionaries, as I call them, the very first people that left Brazil to teach around the world. Not all of them, but many of them were the very first ones to just change and corrupt themselves and go like, oh, I can make money now. Forget those things we used to believe back in Brazil. It's like, oh, there's once you put that cash in front of them, people are very quick to change and adjust, and just, it's a little disappointing because some of these men, I'm not going to mention names, I used to really admire them, and then just watching them change like that, I'm like, wow, it used to be like someone one of my favorites, and now you're like this. I don't care you're rich. It's like, you just lost all my admiration. Like, everything you stood for is just gone. And it's just, now you're a businessman and you're so proud of it. I'm like, almost like disgusted. I'm like, ugh. Like, I mean, that's what success is. I want the opposite. Like, that's not what I want. That's not why I started jiu-jitsu. I feel like a lot of people in my generation have stayed true to the reasons why we started. And I think there's been less, I mean, some, you have to adjust to some degree. Like, there's no way around it, but you can't concede everything all the time. There's got to be a little, like, man, what is it that made jiu-jitsu special in the first place, and not lose that, because those were the key ingredients of success. If you lose those key ingredients, it was like, can you maintain that success? And I think that's kind of where the conundrum is. Now, my books are about that. Like, what is it that we have lost that actually made jiu-jitsu a global phenom? Like, those ingredients can't change. We have to keep them intact.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because for people to start a gym, they love jiu-jitsu. Yeah. They love jiu-jitsu and they want to share it, and so they open their own gym and they're a gym owner. And then you get into the business side of it. And so it's interesting to see that a lot of people are drawn into that because they just love jiu-jitsu and they want to share it. Yeah. But some people aren't equipped to deal with the business. I
think some people they don't love jiu-jitsu, they love what jiu-jitsu can give them. And to a degree, I was that too, because for a long time I wrestled with this and I go, do I love jiu-jitsu, or do I just like obsessed with like proving myself and winning? Like, these things can coexist, sure, but at some point, it's like you can root for the Patriots and Green Bay Packers while they're not playing each other. No problem, there's no contradiction there, because they're not in conflict. But when they're playing against one another, which team are you gonna root for? And I think sometimes with these disputes between, let's say, entertainment and education, or between, are you a martial artist or a businessman? Like, you're gonna have to make that decision. Yeah. And it's interesting to know like which values are, like where the hierarchy, how the hierarchy of priorities is set, how it's framed. And I think that's it's something that, like in judo, for example, they have it written down. Yeah. It's codified. It's not like, oh, it's my opinion. Like, you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but like, there's no conflict within your, like, oh, what is it that we're doing here? Whereas Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's very democratic. It's up to the individual. It's like the internet. It's custom to your to what you want. It's the perfect, like the world is customized to what I like, right? It's, yeah, again, it has strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up how you feel, or you have felt for a long time, that you might just love jiu-jitsu because you want to prove yourself. Because I wanted to talk about a TEDx talk that you did a little while ago, titled "What is the Point of Winning?"
Yeah.
Where you talk about your realization that winning hasn't led to lifelong success.
No.
The high doesn't last. So when did that realization hit you, and how did you start thinking like this?
I don't know, but I don't know if that's when it first hit me. But I remember when I won ADCC, I was on cloud 9 for like 2-3 days. I remember not sleeping the first night. I was so happy. I didn't sleep, maybe an hour. Like I was just like, and not because like I couldn't, because I didn't want to. Yeah. Because I was just like laying down in bed. I'm like, what the fuck? I can't. Because I was always a very insecure person. I was not always like you see guys like, you know, I'm not gonna mention it, but some people, they just walk on the mat. They just have that natural confidence. It's like, and I'm like, man, where does that come from? I never had that. I had to nurture mine, you know. So for me to achieve that, I was like, whoa, I can't believe what I just did, you know. Yeah. But that, it was like 2-3 days of being that way. Like I could barely sleep. I was so happy. And then after that, I was just like, that's it. It's like a high. It really is like a drug. And I've never been a drug addict, but I imagine that's what a drug addict feels. He gets this high, like, whoa. But for every high, you get a wider low. So it's almost like you're creating these big cycles where you need more, and you get a bigger low, and then you get a bigger high. Because you need a bigger high now. You can't go back to it. You can't go less. You gotta go more. Yes. And then it's just like, is there an end to this? And I'm like, well, clearly there's. You read any wise man, any philosopher that's dealt with the issue. It's a problem without a solution. There's no utopia. There's no heaven at the end, like this afterlife maybe, but like not in this life. There is no perfection in this life. There's only, you're struggling for the things that mean something to you. And I to me, what works for me is, I think the struggle itself is the friction itself that is the reward. And once you start looking at it that way, you realize that win or lose are really the same thing, in the sense where you're getting what you really need out of the art, which is what the contention itself. This right here is what grants your meaning to things. And then, because when you win, you don't consider yourself done. You immediately go back to the friction, which makes you think, is it what I wanted really, the victory, the rewards, the laurels, or was it the friction itself? And I personally think that the reason why it's not satisfying to win is because it's the friction itself that we really like. We go right back to it and like next one, because that friction is so, it's a life-giving force, you know. Otherwise you're bored. If you don't have anything to fight for, what are you doing? It's depressing. It's depressing. You got to look at a mountain. I'm going to climb it. Why? Well, because. But what's going to be at the top? You can just buy a postcard. I'm like, not the same. Yeah. Not the same, but it's going to be hard to climb the mountain. I'm like, yeah, that's why I want to do it, because it's hard. Why else would you want to climb Mount Everest? Think about it. It's risky, it's uncomfortable, it's expensive, you may die. Yeah. Why? You get a cloudy day, you probably don't even get a view. Like, why would you do that? Yeah, that's a good point. Yet humans are constantly doing these things. Like, why would Polynesians cross the Pacific Ocean on a canoe with Bronze Age tools? Like, not even Bronze Age, like Neolithic tools. Like, think about it. Why would they do that? Yeah. It's the sense of adventure. Like it's, and I think that these things are, jiu-jitsu to me was always that, you know? So as much as I obsessed over results for a long period of my life, I don't think that that's the real reward. I think it's the work itself, you know. That's what we're really after, even if we're not always aware of it. Right. And how did this realization change your approach to future competitions and your training, and even now as a coach? You mean how does this approach change as a coach? Yeah. So now that you understand that winning isn't everything, I'm sure you have students that don't understand that yet. Yes, I don't give them this speech because they're not. It's just something that you have to mature into.
Right.
I don't know, because if you told me this at 20, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? You sound like retarded. You sound like a loser. Like it doesn't register because,
Yeah.
and I don't want them to think that they're not supposed to be pursuing victory, because you are. That's what the friction is. You can't get friction if you're content with being equal. If I say, oh, we're all equal, everyone gets a medal, well, where's the friction?
Right.
Or where's the combat? Where's the battle? Okay, where everyone's the same, everyone's equal. Okay, where's the fight? That's not exciting. But if there's friction, like, okay, now, but for friction to occur, you have to strive for victory, both of us. If we're both fighting for victory, now we have friction.
Right.
So I don't take that away from them, but I think it's something that people eventually they reach that conclusion one way or another. As a coach, I try to nurture belief, because my opinion, that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. I see like the obsession over like, oh, what's the latest technique? Because their way of thinking is framed by technology. iPhone 13 is better than the 12. So if there's a new technique, it's better than the one that was available last week.
Yes.
And it's just not how things work. But that's how we think. So there's a hyper focus on that. And as a coach, I really try to nurture belief. That's where I put my focus in, like getting them to believe in themselves. Because if that right there is there, I think everything else kind of falls into place eventually.
Yes. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So I want to talk a little bit about Jiu-Jitsu specifically for MMA. So just to understand a little bit better, was the Jiu-Jitsu that you were learning when you first started directly applicable to MMA?
Not necessarily, because it was already undergoing some changes. But for example, if you went to buy a bag, you had like Jiu-Jitsu and Vale Tudo, which is what we called MMA then, were the same thing. You trained Jiu-Jitsu to get into Vale Tudo. It was like a stepping stone almost. Like the distinction was not clear. Not as clear, at least. You were expected to know how to fight.
Right.
So a lot of like, I'm not going to mention names, but like the people that are just like into butt scooting and they're perfectly happy, and like the nerdy type, like these guys wouldn't survive a day. Back in the day, the other guys are like, because these guys would train with slaps once a week too back in the day.
Right.
I caught the end of that. I did that once only, but in the 70s they train with slaps, just like, so if you do a shin to shin guard, you get smacked in the ear, like you never do it again.
Yeah.
It was a way of keeping the cultural, the technical evolution in check. You frame it, right? You prevent it from what? From dispersing, so you keep that. Like, this is where we're going, reality of combat. Right. The 1975 rule set is just that the concern for the reality of combat is explicit throughout the rule set. It's a big part of their thinking, is like, how do we make this real? It is heavily influenced by Vale Tudo. The Jiu-Jitsu rule set, as we know today, of course, the evolution has gone in different directions, but the mindset behind the rule set is highly influenced by MMA or Vale Tudo. You were expected to learn how to put your hands up, how to fight. Once the competition scene took over and it became the dominant force in Jiu-Jitsu, people go, yeah, but that's not going to win me a tournament.
Right.
So the focus started with the spider guard. So, I mean, the seeds of what we're seeing now were really already there in the 80s, because they're already starting to play spider guard. Like De La Riva beat Hoyler, the 87, 88 with the De La Riva sweep, with the De La Riva guard.
Yes.
So it was already, the elements were already there. But there was friction already happening, right? In the 90s, that's when, like, okay, we're just going to go and evolve. If it doesn't work in a fight, who cares? Well, the other thing, too, is the world's changed dramatically. People don't fight anymore, especially in the United States. Like, you're going to get tried. Whereas, like, before, fighting in Brazil was normal. You left the house, it was like, you have to be ready all the time. You went to a tournament, there's a good chance a brawl would break out. I'm not saying that's a superior model, but I still think that from a technical perspective, at least, the purpose of martial arts is to be efficient, not to be trendy.
Yes.
Like nunchucks might have been cool in the 80s, they're goofy now.
Yeah.
Right? Well, lapel guard and butt scooting might be fun, might be cool now. They're going to be very goofy in a few years.
Yeah.
Because there are a few common things about combat that don't change, and they never will. And that is what works.
Yes.
So 2,000 years from now, bar human anatomy changing, a rear naked choke is still going to be king of the land. A kimura, a right hand, a left hook, an overhand right, a single leg, a double leg, because these things are actually practical. Everything else is a fad that works in a very specific environment, which is likely to change over time. The only things that are eternal are the things that are really attached to the reality of combat, and you can't deviate from that. Because that's, to me, this is where we should be going. Anything that is a deviation from reality is is a trend, really. There's no future for it. Like, what are you talking about? There's no future for lapel guard. There's none. There's none. It's going to go at some point. Like, what? It might take 100 years, but it's going to go because it's not functional for the real world.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people talk about how, you know, lapel guards are great for if your attacker's wearing a jacket, you know? And
Even so, like, by the time you're feeding that jacket, you got hit 3 times already, man.
Yeah. I don't know.
My approach to jiu-jitsu, just speaking to grappling, let's not forget, man, I liked how the Dagestani fight. And I strongly believe had that other interpretation of jiu-jitsu, the one that I've always been most drawn to, had that been the evolutionary course of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, we would all be practicing more or less how the Dagestani are fighting. But that being said, it would be less popular.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So what we have is when you crank the volume up on popularity, it's going to lower efficiency. When you crank up the Spartan at those, you're going to lower what? You're going to draw less people. It's going to be less, less open. And we all have our preferences, it's just different forces.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Dagestanis, because I wanted to ask you, you've talked a lot about Khabib, but what active MMA fighter best embodies the kind of jiu-jitsu that you believe in?
The Dagestanis.
Islam?
Well, Islam, because, they told you, it's Sambo, but okay, put whatever label you want on your bottle of Coca-Cola. You could put the label that says Sprite on a bottle of Coke, and then you say, I'm drinking Sprite, and you're still drinking Coke. Sure, it didn't evolve in Brazil. They're not derivative of, the 1975 rule set or the ADCC and IBJJF spheres of influence. But the conclusions they have reached on their own are where jiu-jitsu was going for a big chunk of its history. They're reaching the same conclusions, going the same direction.
Right.
Except that, these guys actually stayed that course and BJJ has gone a different direction. Well, there's a reason why BJJ is more popular than Sambo. Right, but the ways they're Sambo artists, but they've adapted to MMA. It's not, if you watch a Sambo match, you very rarely see a back take.
Right.
And those guys' specialty is taking the back at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that, whether they realize it or not, it was a direct influence of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Other arts don't have that emphasis on the back. Back take exists, but the emphasis is something that, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu contributed a lot to MMA. Right. So what they ended up doing is they became experts at what is functional in a fight and not really, and I don't know if just their mindset is just being very pragmatic and objective. And I think the culture, from the little I understand, is just shuns fads. And the things we obsess with, trying to be cool, they're going, no, try to be efficient. That's what's important. And I'm like, thank you. I agree. Hats off. Like, what else? Why is anyone arguing this? Can anyone tell me that those guys are wrong? Oh, but it's not cool. And I'm like, man, I don't, where do people get these ideas that it's got to be entertaining all the time? I don't understand that. Like, it's got to be entertaining, otherwise I'm not going to do it. Well, go do something else then, man. Because right now you're just bringing your BS into jiu-jitsu. And I wish some of these people, go to NASCAR, man. Go play video games. Go do something else, because you bring in your BS in here and you say it's got to be entertaining every 10 seconds, or I'm going to go somewhere else. You don't love jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I can watch a boring match and still go, man, that's incredible. I know what's going on. There's a world of technique there. But it's like people need the lights. It's like their phone. They can't pay attention. The other day I had a student of mine. He wanted me to have more online presence. I've given up on the internet. I think there's no communicating on the internet is virtually impossible. I can't get a message across in 30 seconds. I'm sorry. I had a guy like, Rob, can you tell me the difference between judo and jiu-jitsu? And I'm like, can you do it in under a minute? And I'm like, no. And he's like, no, Rob, can you just break down. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do, I've written 4 books on it. Like, you have to, this is just the tip of the iceberg here. Like, how do you do it in 30 seconds? But he wanted me to get the message across in 30 seconds. And I'm getting this all the time. And I'm like, there's no communication here, people. This is just entertainment. You're not actually learning anything. And you go, no, but I know now. No, you don't know anything. You're repeating what I said. Even if you memorize what I said in 30 seconds, who's to say I'm right? Yeah. What if I'm wrong? What if my books are all wrong? Why would you believe me? You understand? Like, you're gonna have to get your hands dirty. Oh, it's too much work. Well, okay. But don't tell me that you understand because you're gonna have to get your hands dirty. Yeah. You can't do that in 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds couldn't do justice to
anything. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing. You learn nothing in 30 seconds, or 10 minutes for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier that it's like a chasing like a drug, the way people want entertainment. You gotta go more and more and more.
It's a drug.
And, you know, we see incredibly entertaining grapplers like, you know, the Tackett's, the Rutolos.
Yeah.
And when we see boring but technical matches, there's always the oh, we need more people like the Tackett's, like the Rutolos.
I can appreciate a tactical match and love it for what it is. I love it when I see a flying armbar and like something like flashy. I like it, but that's not why I'm watching it.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people are watching it for the wrong reasons, because you have this, again, you have that metric of like entertainment. When I think of entertainment, I was talking to like IBJJF representative for the book too. And he said this, when I think of entertainment, I think of clowns. And I said, that's funny. That's exactly what goes through my mind. I think of a circus. Mm-hmm. You know, I watch comedy for entertainment. You know, fighting to me is, I don't know. I never looked at fighting as entertainment. Never looked at it that way. And I'm not against it as a side effect, but I think it's not a promising future. It's not a good long-term strategy to frame your values and your actions and all this around barricading this idea that entertainment is the purpose of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It's like we're missing out on some very important things there. There's like so much that we can teach and learn from the friction, right? The combat. And once you get this entertainment route, it's about, oh, am I having fun? And am I enjoying myself here? This is more important. Oh, you're going to sell more tickets that way. I don't care to sell tickets. Yeah. I don't think jiu-jitsu needs to sell tickets to be popular. I'll give you another one. These professional events, which one of them is profitable? Not a single one of them.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them. You know why? Because it's all artificial. Because jiu-jitsu did not grow because of professional jiu-jitsu. That's the myth. They keep saying we got to bring the eyes to the sport. You know who the people are watching jiu-jitsu? You know who's growing jiu-jitsu? The coaches, the local tournaments, the people who are training, the art itself. Jiu-jitsu never needed professional jiu-jitsu to grow. That's a myth. But it's a myth that's been repeated so much. People are going, oh, how are we going to survive unless we have a professional event? The way we have this far, and we've never had a profitable professional event. This is why these rich guys come and go. Because they dump in $4 million into the sport and they go, oh, I'm going to buy my way because I'm going to be the big kahuna because I know business. And I'm going to buy my way into the community. And I'm like, bro, I've seen this movie. If you asked me, I would have told you, don't waste your money. Yeah. Because it's not how things work. And they come in, they lose the money, they buy respect. They're not respected. They're buying their respect to have money. And once 2, 3, 4 years in, they go, you know what? I'm not respected at all. I'm tired of these people taking advantage of me. And they bounce. And it's either a clothing brand, a gym, or an event. Right. And I've seen this movie so many times. Every time I see a rich guy dumping his money into jiu-jitsu, I'm going, I hope it's a tax write-off, bro, because you're not going to, it's not sustainable, Maddie, unless you actually educate people first. This is why I keep saying education first, entertainment second, because the model they're trying to create is not sustainable. It is a waste of money. It is a waste of everything. Okay, you entertain people, but for 1 show, 2 shows, long term, it's not, I mean, no sane person is going to stick to that model long term.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, if you educate people first and everyone understands jiu-jitsu, they're more likely to watch a match. Because you know what, 20 years ago, I used to train jiu-jitsu and I understand what's happening. So now it's actually something you can sell. But first, so the priorities have been reversed. We're going entertainment before education. It's like, no, first you need to, and when I mean education, I mean in a very broad sense. I'm not just talking about people understanding the match. I'm talking about, I trained as a kid, I see the value of this, I respect what you're doing. You don't need to talk shit to sell me tickets because I know you're a genius at what you do. And I appreciate your art, and that's why I'm gonna want you. They did it in Japan. You see Pride, what do? Well, they either trained judo at some point or they've seen it, they understand it. So they don't think an armbar or grappling is boring. Why? Because it's a more educated public. And sense the difference of the American crowd versus the Japanese crowd. We saw this with Pride in UFC. So I think that's the correct route, is to how do we grow the population? How do we educate people? Once we do these 2 things, then we can start worrying about, okay, how do we turn this into a professional event? So in some ways, I think that the money-hungry people are they got their priorities backwards.
Right. So you think we need to start maybe at the bottom and bring more people into training the sport?
Which is what we're doing. Which is why when people tell me that these professional events are drawing eyes to the sport, I'm like, you're either dishonest or like little slow. I mean, you can't be serious. Like, this is nothing of that. The people who are growing jiu-jitsu, main force, in my opinion, and I'm not saying I don't have my differences with these guys, because I do, but the main force is IBJJF, hands down. They give order and I'll give you an example. What's the guy, the rich guy that got a black belt in 3 years? The other day, everyone's losing their minds.
Yes, Derek Moneyberg.
Okay, everyone's losing their mind. Same people who criticize the IBJJF. I'm like, which one is it, bro? Because it's Derek Moneyberg, IBJJF black belt? He's not. Now, if IBJJF does not exist, that right there is happening we would have 12-year-old black belts if it weren't for them. So when people talk about growth with jiu-jitsu, I'm like, are you guys not paying attention? Take those guys away and see what happens. It turns into a circus even faster. Oh, they're making money. Yeah, and what's the issue? They do a good job, so?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. Like, why are people complaining? Complaining about what? You don't have to. No one's putting a gun to your head. You have to. You can join an organization that actually cares about, does an outstanding job, in my opinion. Or you can just join the circus. Okay, you can. But there's no future in the circus, because it's just not going to last. It's just, there's nothing to it. So I think that these are the forces that are, you see these conflicts, and I think that jiu-jitsu benefits from having order in general, and rules and standards. There's a reason why judo's been around for so long, and they're not going anywhere. You can say it's not less entertaining, okay, but like they have structure in place, and I think these things matter.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to get back to jiu-jitsu and MMA quickly. Do you think refs should ever stand fighters up in an MMA fight? No,
never. Interesting you brought that up. It's a very good question. So that comes up. There's a chapter in my new book about that. What was the mindset behind the 1975 rules? So the mindset, how we got the genealogy of that rule. So how do they get to that? Because prior to that, grappling has been mostly a being on top kind of business.
Right.
I'm supposed to be on top of you, I take you down, a little bit of ground. Catch wrestling had ground, Kosen Judo had ground. Judo was eliminating ground over time, but the ground was always there. In 1975, they go, this is a fight is a ground-oriented business. Now, why did they reach that conclusion? The first wave of jiu-jitsu practitioners in Brazil, 1930s to 1975, they had no exposure to tournaments. Why? Didn't have a federation. BJJ's first tournament was ran in 1973. So they had no exposure to tournaments. You understand? So their experience in fighting had come from what? Vale Tudo. In Vale Tudo back in the day, first of all, no gloves. So it was an open-handed business, meaning it favored the grappler, because you're less likely to get knocked out.
Right.
Because the gloves are really protecting your hands. They're not really protecting anyone's face. The impact's the same, right? So no gloves, also easy to choke someone. Guillotine, rear naked choke. As a grappler, no gloves is a dream.
Totally.
I'd much rather fight in the UFC with no gloves, okay? So no gloves. Longer rounds, meaning when the fight hit the ground, what happened? It stayed on. So you don't have a hurry to take someone down, and when you took them down, no resets. So a fight, and there, now you can argue whether you like that rule set or not. That's fine, that's a different discussion. But their interpretation of combat was a ground-oriented business. So when they framed the 1975 rule set, what are they really trying to do? They're trying to keep jiu-jitsu adhere to the reality of combat and not make the mistakes judo had made, which is to deviate from the reality of combat. They were trying to create a rule set that mimicked a real fight. And if you look at the progression, what I call the progression paradigm, where you go 2, 3, 4, you're progressing not only towards a submission, you're also progressing to positions that in a fight would warrant strikes, elbows.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
The knee on belly is a perfect example of this. Now, me and you know the knee on belly is almost a useless position in UFC today. When was the last time you saw it? You never see it.
Yeah.
It's in the rule set. You also rarely see it in competition. And it's a deficiency in their thinking. But you can't dispute the origin of the thinking. Now, you can argue that it's flawed, and I would agree with you. But you can't say that their intentions of the knee on belly was not that if you put the knee on belly on someone, you can draw punches on them. Because that's how they're thinking. So at the very least, what the knee on belly does is shows how they were thinking, how they were understanding, what their understanding of jiu-jitsu was.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yes, if the refs didn't stop the fight, the grapplers would have a huge advantage.
Totally. Yeah. I agree. I'd rather
longer rounds too. The other one, 5 minutes. 5 minutes for you to clinch someone, take them down, advance position, and submit them against a professional athlete.
Yeah.
It is. But again, the UFC it was not designed for, like, let's find out who the best fighter is. Only to a degree that's true. It was mostly like the priority has always been, why? We got to sell tickets. So you got to make it fast and dynamic, and knockouts are easier to understand than a back take and a submission. Anyone can understand a punch.
Totally.
A submission is more complex.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we finish up, and maybe like where people can find your books?
If you go on I can give you the link later on my website. I'll sign a copy. Okay.
Oh, awesome.
I can't be Amazon in terms of speed and delivery. Like, if you want it fast, go on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, go on my website. So I can give you the link later. I personally sign the books and ship them out myself.
That's great.
The shipping will be a little more expensive, I believe. It's a little bit lower, slower, but either way, you can on my website or Amazon. They're both available.
Awesome.
And they have I just came out with I just tried AI. I'm like such a critic of AI, and here I am being a hypocrite. Because I did the audio book for the new one. One of them is out, the other one's not. I did the AI version.
Okay.
And so I don't know how people are gonna. I don't know what the reception is gonna be, because the other ones I actually paid someone to record it.
Yes, I listened to that one. The first book, the opening
Close guard. Yes,
yeah,
I thought I did a great job.
Great.
I thought you did a great job.
Yeah.
But now I use AI this time because it was free. It was like click of a button. I'm like, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced it's better than someone reading it though. It's just easier.
Yeah, true.
I don't have the time to narrate.
Yeah.
And paying someone is very pricey. It's actually not cheap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a lot of work, because you're reading for 20 hours. Out of those 20 hours, you're really in a studio for 40.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I could just keep chatting with you forever, but I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No worries. I hope you got something out of it, and I had fun, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Are we good?
Yep.
I have no idea how much time that was.
I talk way too much. I'm sorry. You know what?